music no one can ever refuse it. Pulsating, vibrating, reggae, reggae, reggae. Very sky, rock, steady, mental, a quadrillion, a cool minute.
To the listeners and viewers of the Real Stuff podcast. Today is Friday, and it's Sports Corner, and we have a special guest today, the one and only Rass Rod. You know, dope traffickers.
Yes,
Yeah, so, how you doing, Rass Rod?
Good and bad, you know, because such is the kingdom of life, you know, so good and bad.
Yeah. So, one made us ask the question, who is Rass Rod?
Woo-wee! Well, Rass Rod is a writer / poet. So in identity, I would identify myself to be a poet. And because you have to write poems, and in my journey, then there are other areas away from being a poet and writing poetry or poetry, as the case may be, then my writing skills would have been welcome, even to the point that it has earned from my own writing. So apart from being that, I think I am so multi-talented, and one of the downs of being multi-talented, sometimes it takes you years to sign off on what you really want to do in life, you know, and hence sometimes, well, as I speak, there is no regret, but sometimes from a financial standpoint, it can make you insecure.
Yeah, understandable. But I read in the bio that you started out at an early age.
Yes.
Writing poems, yeah.
Yes, because ever since going to school, where English class was concerned, then where poetry was concerned or anything we were reading. As a matter of fact, at primary school, I was a valedictorian.
Wow.
Yeah, at primary school, I was my valedictorian, and a lot of how I speak came from my father, because every wedding, every event where maybe an MC is required or a funeral to eulogy, I have always seen my father, and that surely from his DNA memory has somewhat trickled down to me, you know. And then he was a policeman again to begin with again, and he has always been that kind of person where writing is concerned, you know. Even in writing a report, he was very articulate. So I guess some of his DNA memory came from him, you know.
Yeah, man. Well, as this is Sports Corner, and I know that, you know, because I've heard it before, so, you know, give the people something, give us something that we can, you know.
Well, say if I can. Woo-wee. Well, it's so good again to be here, sharing some of what I do. And over the years, I would have deemed pretty much a word contortionist. So one of the fingerprint traits of myself as a poet has been the analogy of my poems. And even when my book is to come out, which can also be a workshop procedure book, it's called Poem Analogy. So this one is entitled Age. I attention, what a stress, have to make care of myself. My chronological age, my physiological age, my psychological age. My birthday is Earth Day, that logical time I came to Earth. My birthday is Mother birthday, biological clockwork she give birth. Whether birthday our Earth Day is closer going down to Dirt Day, remains found in DNA. A lifetime is as the heartbeats, inside out wear and tear, accrue to time, environment, food, people. Unlike the beats of the unseen, without a death wish, the flesh perish. For as a child, great enthusiasm to become an adult. As an adult, greater enthusiasm to add to the adult. Experience backslide, another big inning to enthusiasm, to be a child again, as old people wear diaper. Who can change age numeric value? We can, in a wit, in and outer skin, covered in fashion and feel like 3 number age countdown to 1. I feel like when Roland just starts the year and rain a fall in my dream. A white marina socks with slippers, buckle below my belly pants with a stiff seam. Me midlife a cry for the sis, husband want wife, life dictates to ask, do I? I do. Not mind a little toning cream, since it's not bleach. I will act mature and wear Marvel comic brief. Attention, what a stress. Have to make care of myself. Me chronological age, me physiological age, me psychological age.
Wow.
That one is big.
Yeah, man, very, well, that's profound, man. Very, very profound.
You know?
That's
And,
a powerful way to start out.
yes, you know, because some of my poems, like my father, we have always heard once a man, twice a child. And then I've seen my father in diapers, you know? So these were profound age-old sayings that we learn and born come here. Some of them, it stands to be very true, you know? Once a man, twice a child.
It's like reality, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, man. Well, you start with my appetite, you know, so. Yeah, for that's why I feed me.
Touch you again, yeah?
Well, like I said in my short bio, one of my first poems, and how I come to write one of my first poems, is while being incarcerated. And that poem, you see, has been a poem that I've healed so many people with. And it's called Sayings to Live By. And like I said in my analogy, when you look at the visual of it, is S-A-N-E-S. And there's a sayings in the poem, which is S-A-Y-I-N-G-S, you know?
Yeah.
So these are sayings to live by. Every morning we arise, we face choice and decision. Okay, hold on. There's one thing I must say before I say this. In my earliest going to the Poetry Society and examining poems as opposed to poetry, when I first did this poem, it was not deemed poetry. And at first, when I heard it was not poetry, at first I really felt away and I really felt a bit hurt. But what it did for me, and this is the kudos to the Poetry Society in when it comes to poetry, to really allow people to know what poetry is. So it can be a poem, but it's not necessarily poetry. So, and that is how we had formed our organization and coined poetry, where we focus on someone who identifies themselves to be a poet and the poems that they write, you know? So this one, and I can remember Umbala saying the rhyme structure, it rhyme. And well, it has just been so good in the growth and development. But one thing I do know, I have earned from this poem, it's one of my top seller in terms of I call this my 45 because there's a lamination aspect of it. Every morning, we arise, we face choice and decision. To help make up our mind, we need advice and opinion. From the moment that we choose, it was our intention. We have our own mind to decide what's right from wrong. Control your own mind and use your discretion. Speak your mind in any conversation. Hypocrite to yourself to do self-rejection. Our deep inner strength builds from stress and tension. There is a purpose for every man and woman. Earth, give us talent, one is in your possession. Just be yourself and put it into action. All ideas are from imagination. We all born with sight, what we lack is vision. Anything you do in life, there's always retribution. The key to success is organization. An ed can't organize without an education, whether from the street or from an institution. Fulfill your needs first, your wants come second. Don't talk about a thing unless it's into your hand. You have planned to fail if you fail to plan. Some worship vanity and say they have ambition. To obtain a better human relay strong, who understand each other through communication. To one another be in subjection. Devote your time and attention. Your responsibility is your obligation. Be humble to deal with any situation. Anyone seek love will cover a transgression. The fear of being lonely and in desolation. A pure and merry heart, do good just like medication. Righteousness and everlasting foundation. Shall we not perish in our own expectation? Working on ability is a living motivation. Every minute starts an hour, time breaks for no one. And sayings to live by is for all generic nation. And these sayings will live on and on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love the combination of philosophy and and your poem. So I think
Yes.
poem trait after a little bit of philosophy then, you used to call it that.
Well, many years ago when Barry Evans and Rex Neckerford was around and they had formed the folk philosophy unit, it was persons like myself when who in just behind the scenes meeting, and that's when even we talk about myself when we coin philosophy. Yeah, those were the years when we coined philosophy and philosophy.
Yeah.
So yes, these are philosophical based. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very deep.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And why it's deep is because where it was written while being incarcerated.
Okay.
And this was written when a lady whom I used to live with, her daughter just started seeing her period. And every week they used to send me a letter, the three of them, 3 separate letters. And when she told me that she's seen her period, I began, because I wasn't there for them, that's when I began sending some lines of inspiration. And it was very early I realized that these lines carried a rhyme scheme. So every week when I send a letter, I realize in my head that hey, it carries a kind of rhyme scheme, and then it just fit together, and hence that's how I started to write this poem.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, the backstory is really interesting too, you know.
Yep. You
Uh,
know?
but I see the reason why it inspires so many people, though, you know.
Yes, yes, yes. Because
Very
even when our
inspirational.
early
Yeah.
days of going around doing our poems, there was a time also we had entered into a Orange River Ranch. And sometimes when people would come from an operation, I would have been the poet to add to their healing. And this was the poem also of choice. So yes, it has earned some fair share. I've always healed now and then persons by just saying this poem. There's sometimes one line that can just magnify what's happening in a person's life, and they take it from there. You know?
So you had to add Ela to the bio. You didn't put that in the bio, man.
Well, I must say, it's not an extensive bio, and like I said to even Viva, this is the bird for me to write a more deeper and concise bio. To tell the truth, you know. So, because there is so much to say, my brothers, so much to say, you know, so much.
You have so much thing to say right now.
Yeah.
So much things to say. Yeah. Anyway, hit us with poetry, our poetry.
All right. Now, one of the things in there is a university in Mandeville, and at one stage the literature department was interested, and I didn't follow up in to publish my poems because they saw it as a workshop manual, not because of the analogies, but because even when I would explain the analogies, it's very deep. And sometimes when you have a poem and you stick to the subject matter, that means you find all the elements of the subject matter. Those poems are sometimes great because sometimes when we write, there is so much imagery. It forces us, which is also good, but it also forces us away from how the writer interprets it. And I guess when someone writes something, by either reading it or by listening it, they should get the same interpretation from the reader. But nothing is wrong if someone listens it or read it and garners their own interpretation. Nothing is wrong. And that's the beauty when we have workshops, because it's only workshops we can know these thoughts and perceptions from other people. All right, hit you with poems. Now this one is entitled Mathetic Technicians at Work. We have always see ourselves, and even at the time at the university, we were social scientists, not knowing that we as poets are social scientists. And
Rass Rod, you are muted. Please unmute.
in the latter, they became a professor. So this is one of the many poems that someone used in dissertation. So can you imagine someone doing dissertation and they use several of my poems? This is one of them. Also, there is a performance aspect of my work. So I guess in some of how I would recite my poems, I still say I recite my poems. The dub aspect of it, which I can also relate. And then there are aspects I can go right back to the the metering system of what poetry is all about. Mathetic technicians at work. Mathetic technicians at work. Mathematics. Mathematics. Numerology control our ethics. Numerology control our ethnics. Birth addition, birth subtraction, race, color, creed, multiplication, morality, all value, attitude, division, equal, ity, incomplete answer. Pen and paper maths today. Computer generated genetics, carefully calculated eugenics have become human robotics, mentally inclined bionics, to X-ray the hated screen, UHF, VHF, multicolor signals to be seen and heard via AM, FM, CB, citizens bond with audio-visual written productions to master and bait your mathematics mind, to forest foreign fashion flair, forcing to enforce foreign cultural affair. Identify yourself. The land of your birth, your culture is there and not here. In a logbook, mathetic technicians log our rhythms to schism, then sign and co-sign, sail in, sail out contracts of the global pie to raid us at all angles. Matrices, a circumference, 3/4 is a fraction. 3, the numerator. 4, the denominator. Mathetic technicians. Skip, skull, void, null. Mathematics class. Mathematics class done. Mathetic technicians at work. Mathetic technicians at work. Mathematics. Mathematics. Numerology control our ethics. Numerology control our ethnics. You know? And these were poems before computer really get serious in Jamaica. These were poems in the big cell phone days, you know? You know?
Yeah. Well, just tell us too about, I know that you collect other poets' poems and have them, set up and all of that. And displayed and, tell us about that. Because I think you have it like a little tourist.
Okay, well, in the productive years of Dub Traffickers, we had the Poem Craftistic Mart. So hence, we sold products. Those are the cassettes days. So I still have small inventory, like a Blackwood mix, because we had also coined, along with poets, storytelling. We had always put storytelling par and par with us as writers and poets. So at the time, we had a Poem Craftistic Mart. So from a cassette standpoint, we could find Bill Blast cassettes. I still have, when Yasso Safari, his first cassette, we still have cassettes. A Blackwood mix, Diana Wright, Dwayne Francis, yes, Benjamin Zephaniah. Yes, I used to sell his cassettes at the time. So along with cassettes, then certainly each time we made contact with a poet and they had a book, even if we are not selling it, we would have had our book in our catalog and library. And these are some of the hurt I had when I lost the office, because even that vast collection was not returned to me. It's the same for the vinyls. You know, the Mikey Smith personalized album with that Mikey Smith sign. You know, these things were never returned to me. So, but I still have a good collection here that I kind of recollected and salvaged from all that experience. And from that time until now, when we as poets used to perform, we would always read someone else's work. That became part of our old persona. Because sometimes there's a subject matter and we do not have any poem that can relate to that subject matter, but someone has it in a book, you know? So we always pay that homage to read other person's work. Now forward to this time, I run an Airbnb, and that small collection from time to time, I would go into it because when I perform for my guests, away from my own poems, sometimes I will draw for somebody book, you know, and just read one, you know. Let us say Michael Parch, poets in the past, great visual artist who now passed away, who has not gotten recognition. But in our early days of our Poetic Pioneers Award, Michael Parchment certainly was awarded one, you know. So persons like those who contributed a lot to the growth and development of the poem industry, the poetry industry, and the dub poetry industry in Jamaica, you know. So certainly, you know, notwithstanding, up to the time, I still perform my poem. And from time to time, I won't say I do it often, but from time to time, I would still pull a book from the library and read a work from someone else, you know?
Yeah, just a quick question though. So your collection, is it open to the public or it's just...
Yes, it's in the library in the foyer. Yes, when guests come here, it's open to the public in the foyer.
Okay.
Oh, certainly it is. Certainly. Because a poetry we say no, and poems. So certainly it became part of our whole life personality. And we may seem dormant or inactive in the mainstream platforms, but behind the scenes, we are always active. We are always who we are, and we'll never change. You know?
Yeah. So
some of the high-tech poems, you know, because these were poems before internet opened wide in Jamaica. And we live to see so many aspects of the internet where at the time, I would say that my poems weren't ready for the time then, because a lot of people could not understand the analogies of it. And it wasn't simple because I stuck to what poems or poetry is supposed to do. It's supposed to allow persons to think, you know? So this poem is entitled Arthropod Anthropomorphism. And it's all part of our social science, which we contributed a whole lot during the years of Barry Evans and, and Rex Neckleford. You know, Rex Neckleford, you know, he told me to live simply with taste. And that's a quote I always say from Rex Neckleford. Live simply with taste, you know. So this poem is entitled Arthropod Anthropomorphism. Enter the net, into the net of the spy, there's web. Enter the net, into the net of the spy, there's web. Membrane, connecting complex series in one pieces. Tickle the keys with your funky finger. Fingerprint in your microprocessor mind. Out of formation for information on the screen. Square glare, the use is, and use her stare. No one can steer the glare from the eyes. And lo, toss 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, Alpha, Omega, vertically codes of the WEB. World End Mesh bandwagon, the information technology. Its virus is as living as biology. Whiz, the in-out formation quiz. Superlative edutainment showbiz. Enter the net, into the net of the spider's web. Enter the net, into the net of the spider's web of our Jamaican national prime ministrickster folk hero Burr and Nancy. Cultivating culturally is unforgotten fallacy fancy, creating crafty. Buying and selling Uncle Samfi, the nation arthropod mine of bamboozle, bandulo, will fool you the same time as school you. Enter the net, into the net of the spider's web. Enter the net, into the net of the spider's web. Spy versus spy. I spy. What do you spy? A web, a cobweb, a cabal web. Enter and exit the human head through the 5 senses. The human microprocessor mind dispenses earthly cyberspace. Are we becoming human cyber race? Enter the net, into the net of the spider's web. Enter the net, into the net of the spider's web. Get entangled.
Wow. Very creative, man. Very, very
Oh
creative.
yeah. Oh yeah. Looking at the
Now, there was
reality
a
and playing with it.
Yes. Now, there was a time now, I was the resident poet on CTV, creative, that cable station on Arnold Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was once a resident poet on that program. And normally, when any major subject matter was coming on, those years I was prolific. Those were my most prolific years, because then it took me days, sometime, to know that, hey, the manager for JPS is going to come on. And then by the time I get that information, then I have to pen something where that program is about and come with something. So this particular poem was even one of them. When JPS was going in with them thing, little before, was it what, Miranda Company? Yeah, it was little before that that sellout. It was during that whole negotiational process, and you know, the government was under fire, you know, because as always they would have been accused of selling out the country. But it was then we knew one of the reasons why we sold out our country is because away from the that must spend back in this country, it was a way for both governments to rob those companies, you know. So this was one of them when JPS, and this poem is entitled Crude Company. Light has no mass. J Public Service load is heavy. Light, believe me, frost. Straight jacket, PS ready. It's like some barmaid principle. Pad the bill. Pay too much joker machine and collect still. Whether the bill is estimate or guesstimate, rich and poor is paying the same access the rate. If it's a human error this, then that person is a corporate terrorist. If it's a computer glitch, that need finger to make the virus itch. So it's not belief. Only consumers are public utility. These fishers of problem throw their line up in the years with all the bridge light. They PS have reported a profit. Who told them who have light that bridge have enough for every minute open them fridge for oil prices and rate of exchange doesn't affect who out of the tax next brains. Concern for conserving while alternative power is more preserving. The bills take long to come. However, to pay the bills are expressed to pay the master, which is not our business, is your business. Due to scarcity and rising of oil, we at J make hay public out of service are to invest in a stockpile. The barrel that was used to make electricity, the period on your bill, no quarrel. If we choose to lose and calculate the rate from our PhD who speculate, unforeseen expenditure as conversation adverts, no unionized private contractor payouts, extortion and the boss rent, customers will attract these costs. In the event of a surplus, we will surpass. We have the power. We not care, you know.
Yeah, and one thing about the poetry too is that, you know, it's really humorous too, you know what I mean?
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but the one thing that people are should just use the word witty, you know?
Yes.
And I read once that, you know, witticism is the highest level of intellectuality, you know? So I guess you are, you know, right on the track.
That is true. That is so true. And as performance, that is why I was very good, because the ability of the wit, you know.
Yeah.
So I saw it sit. Midday.
Yeah, man. Well, you know that is sports corner, so you can just give us as much as you can.
Woo. I'm trying to find one from the woo. Okay. Here's a nice one. This was also being a resident poet, and at the time, yeah. Hold on, wait. Yeah. Now, this poem is entitled Pinty Pudding That Shouldn't. And at the time on the program, they had this mini-miss contest going on from over Portmore. And when I did this poem, it was very controversial at the time on the air. And even more so, that is why even the Broadcasting Commission at the time, I went through this with Gleaner, with my name, that in the paper they had to say Rass Rod. On the Broadcasting Commission, I passed the whole of this in having, you have to say Rass Rod. It's not a curse word to say Rass Rod. Once the connotation, it's not a curse word. And Rass is a territorial ruler And Rass used to be that cloth before they made female sanitary napkins, you know. So it is from those cloths we in Jamaica formed our own bad words. So the cloth, super absorbent cloth like burlap, one used to name Rass, one used to name Bumbo. And that's how our words fast. And then now it overextend to P-U-S-S-Y, I'm on here now, to be a curse word, and blood to be a curse word. So hence that's how a curse word starts. So this poem is entitled Pinty Pudding That Shouldn't. Nothing no age, nothing no rage, nothing no news span front page. Listen me age, listen me rage, listen me news span front page. Entering into the gates of puberty, is I saw what is maturity, that a grapeless fox can have ripe cherry. Cherry, 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 cherry. A standing meanness as no conscience. Lust overrules to commit this fence. The urging carries erectile essence. Essence. Visual feeds the libido source, and imagination charters the course that taking a bow is for better or worse. Thirst. Juxtaposition is not in a position to deploy manual transmission. That minimis puberty is carnal consumption. Nothing no age, nothing no rage, nothing no news span front page. Listen me age, listen me rage, listen me news span front page. You know? So that is a kind of lighter poem. You know? I tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why I did that one also is because I write to the young and athletic, to the old and arthritic.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, so I have gotten paid to write poems when I went around with the road traffic hacking schools. You know, it was when persons like me do some good works, you know, because they were teaching the children to look up and look down. And one child got killed because they were looking up and they were looking down. So persons like myself say, hey, you have to teach them to look left and look right when you're crossing a road. Don't tell them look up and down. A child got killed because of that. You know? Yeah.
Well, anyway, just tell us a little bit about dub traffickers. Because I guess most people don't know even heard about dub traffickers.
Well, when we formed with the intention also to go into the business of poems, because every second person we met had some inner thought and desire to earn from their poem. The latter thought, we would use the term the bus phenomena. You know, like when you're a DJ and them say you're bus now, and every minute you hear your record play. So we would have connotated the over-exaggeration of persons who want to bus reverse and to the general knowledge in that someone wants some notion that they can earn from their poems. And even the thought that we could have done this as a full-time job. So when I went away to Europe and I did the check, and then I realized that the English is really governed by England itself. And there is organization that is outside of the universities, but most of it you have to go to the universities to really sign off. But there are hidden organizations that governs the language, and every language there is a hidden organization that governs that language. So dub traffickers at the time, we were a group of poets, And up until the time when we had an office, we had the Poem Craftistic Mart selling poetic items, poem items for poets. We formed the Dub Trafficker Poetry Sound, which was the first sound system in the world to specialize in playing poetry. And then we connotated dub music to it, instrumentally, you know?
Yeah.
And we also had the Dub Traffickers ITAL studio, which up to the time it was a demo studio, but we also produced a German poet, Pepe Zal, who is now deceased. But his production went well because he spoke about the Hereros, that persons in Africa that fight, and he was a freedom fighter. So I guess in the many history, wow. Woo. Pull out that folder. We lost a whole lot in the non-return, you know. So I was the CEO of Dub Traffickers, and our office was in a garrison community. Bottom draw, that's the four of them. We were in a garrison community, and we had the office for 5 years. So we wanted to become the archive, and we wanted to become like the Clement Coxon dad of poets. But there's a thing. So at the time when we opened the office, I still managed to salvage some things. So when we opened, this was our business card. You know, let me touch this. Yeah. This was our business card, our logo. We were the first to celebrate World Poetry Day in Jamaica, which we had contractor status from UNESCO, where we started from sending in performer on invoice, so till we had contractor status and they gave us money to spend, and we just did a report. We also did a use of poetry survey, and this was how we used to build our audience, by this use of poetry survey, you know. We came out with Poem Formation, a poetry magazine. See there with Yassos and Burchell Whiteman. Yes. We were the ones who coined, myself, and when I say I coined it, notwithstanding people, sometimes we coin things and there are people miles away that has the same thought. So the word edutainment from a Jamaican standpoint, which Yassos uses today, came from me, but I must say I will not claim ownership alone, because in writing, I realize, and in the world, I realize that many miles away, we can have like minds alike, and we come up. But I must say edutainment is one. So this is our magazine at the time, our poetry magazine. Tommy Ricketts was the one who designed the part on the back in that. You know, Michael Parchment, the visuals. So a lot of our historical documents, I have them on paper, you know, in the works that we have done. All the newspaper articles, when the internet came on. So we have the art, we have lost the art copy, but I managed to find a lot of the newspaper articles on the net, you know. We still find, we came out, you know, I get copies, Poetry Industry Network formed, the newspaper articles, you know, Time to Listen to Our Poets, several articles at the time from the Dub Trafficker. We came out with the IB 21st Century, which we, after 5 years, we developed a business plan, which was never executed, for poets and poetry. At the time, Imaya, at the time, yeah, all these were, so this is what I'm saying, the Orange River Ranch, where we did the poets, where people go for healing, lots of work. When woo, boy, I'm seeing so many history when I look at this. Bring the plaque that hang up at the doorway. The plaque that hang up at the doorway. We still have much of our productive things that we've done, the flyers, the best. So though we lost many of our historical data, I managed still to salvage some of them. Some of them, we found them in the dump. Persons in the area called me and said they throw away a lot of our stuff in the dump. And I went there and salvaged some of our stuff. Our journey, we used to put poets on platform, plaque on the door, if you hang up a plaque to the door when you go through, you see it hang up. Much of our journey, woo, there are so many things to say, Courtney, my brothers and people. Whoa, I need a lifetime to express myself. Everything is just flowing and jumbled up in my head. I can't speak fluid. This program, this podcast, have my head running, people. There is so much to say. The poetic part.
Well, okay, I'll save some for the second show, so.
Yeah,
we
came up. Yes, see, in the Poetic Pioneers Award, Lee Scratch Perry, we were the person who brought Lee Scratch Perry to Jamaica, Michael Parchment. Every person that we honor, we gave a counteraction. Like the Gleaner. At the time when we awarded the Gleaner, we defended that they have no right to edit anyone's work. They should present it as it is. The Jamaica Cultural the Division, when we awarded them, we let them know that, hey, poetry and dub poetry as its standards. So we show them that the art form is varied. Tasty at the time contributed because they kept a contest for years and they always said dub poetry. Mervyn Morris in 2009, when Mervyn Morris got the award, that's what prompted the government to give him his award for Heroes Day. Believe it or not. Songster's Bookstore, all these people contribute to the development of poetry and poets and poems in Jamaica. Whoa. Yeah. Well, I thank you for express myself because I had too much. The item poetry is a therapy for me because I had too much to come out. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are poets together today as they were in those days?
No. And I apologize for the world because I came to do a work to the development of poems in Jamaica, which includes poetry. I came to do a work to develop poets and poems, and in poems, you have poetry. And I did not get a chance to complete it.
So why do you think that is so? Any reason that comes to mind?
One, the hierarchy of our literature does not want to see a business out of poetry. So when I negotiated with the hierarchy, that was when we chop off a piece and said poetry, where we focus on the poems of people. Because a lot of the development was done under the title of poetry, and poetry has its standards, and the hierarchy of persons of our English language, and secondary, the American language, does not want to see a business out of poetry. It should be as NGO status, and just to keep it as it is in an academic state, and However, notwithstanding that there are persons out there who may have books or so, but these things are being selected by hierarchy, and it's not there for the mass. I learned this thing when I went to Europe and did my study, you know. So the way how we would want to commercialize, that's the word, they told me that poetry should not be commercialized.
Welcome, Viva. We are on the closing.
Yeah, so why the poets are not like before? Because every poet has their own fingerprint, and having your own fingerprint, everyone has their own individuality. And that is why a lot of these poets are not focused on belonging to a group. And a lot of the power of an organization, it has to be organized and it has to be in a group. You know, so when you look at the poetry, even the poetry society, what it is, it's just what it is. And one should not look for them to do any more than what they have been doing over the years. Because they are here to secure poetry, not poems and dialects and dub poetry. That's not the purpose of a society. When you coin poetry and society, it's about poetry. But the platform is open for anyone who writes a poem and they want to express themselves. And that's the greatest that they have contributed to the development. If our organization was still active, Poetry Society is also on the list to be awarded a Poetic Pioneer Award. Poets Corner, we were the ones who brought back alive in Oak Gardens Poets Corner. There's a marble with so many names of poets. You know, we were the ones at the time who cleaned it up. We were the ones who secured that space. And had we managed to put our business plan, you would have seen a trailer on that because we couldn't set up a permanent structure. So you'd have seen in that acre space, you'd have seen a trailer with the Poem Craftistic Mart and another trailer with chairs and the sound system and all that when we keep monthly events, we would put that up and string up the aluminum thing and all that, you know. Woo! Too many things coming to me. Too many things I need. Woo!
Yeah. So anyway, Rass Rod, you know, we're about to close out, so just give us a last one and your final remarks.
Why a last one? Woo! Boy, me feel so good because it's the first in a long while me jumble up so much expression in wanting to say so much. And me feel vented. The last time I was on this program, me really feel healed. And this is a further healing because this poem, this one focus on me. You know? Another poem. Make one mile it down, no? Make one mile it down.
Yeah, where I do it. You saw the mathematics?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Even give a repeat because
All right.
you know, I mean.
Yeah, all right.
In my eyes, that is genius, man. Genius.
All right. Yeah. Coming up. Mathetic ignitions at work. Mathetic ignitions at work. Mathematics. Mathematics. Numerology control our ethics. Numerology control our ethnics. Birth addition, birth subtraction, race, color, creed, multiplication, morality, value, attitude, division, equal, ity, incomplete answer. Mathetic ignitions at work. Mathetic ignitions at work. Mathematics. Mathematics. Numerology control our ethics. Numerology control our ethnics. Pen and paper maths. Today, computer-generated genetics, carefully calculated eugenics have become human rights, mentally inclined bionics. To X-radiated screen, UHF, VHF, multicolor signals to be seen and heard via AM, FM, CB. Citizens bond with audio-visual written productions to master and bait your matom, a tick's mind, to forest foreign fashion flair, forcing to enforce foreign cultural affair. Identify yourself. The land of your birth, your culture is there and not here. Matetic, nations at work. Matetic, nations at work. Matam, attics. Matam, attics. Numerology control our ethics. Numerology control our ethnics. In a logbook, mathematic technicians log our rhythms to schism, then sign and co-sign sail in, sail out contracts of the global pie to raid us at all angles. Matrix sees a circumference 3 that is a fraction. 3, the numerator. 4, the denominator. Mathetic ignition. Skip, skull, void, null. Matam, attics class. Matam, attics class done.
Wow. Yeah, man. So, any final words to our listeners and viewers?
Yes. And my final words is in something that the brethren said earlier on poets. At the time, there was a zest and zeal, like in my time coming up. And there still is a zest of zeal in a lot of us as poets. And all I'm saying, maybe part of my life work is to continue, rise up back the organization again, get everyone registered. But nothing beats like in the platform of a poet, just like how you have this podcast, they must see it as part of themselves and to be part of that collective. That's all I'm saying for poets. Any platform you see, be connected with it. Claim it as part of your own personal development and contribute to it. Any platform that has to do with poets and their poem. And this podcast is also one of them, you know? So spread the good word, share it. I'm not good with phone, but even not let us say from a selfish standpoint, because maybe I was coming on the program, then I would tell 1 or 2 friends, hey, I'm coming on a podcast, you can listen. I don't know if they have done, but maybe as of today, I will have to begin myself to make sure I listen the podcast weekly. You know, this is what I'm saying. I'm talking to myself too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Man. So I say, viva, viva, a fellow dub trafficker. Bless up yourself,
Yes.
Viva.
Yes,
Thanks
Viva.
for tuning in. Yeah, so Flavius, close us out, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Rass Rod. And thank you, Viva, for popping in.
Yeah,
So,
respect.
Rass Rod, Court will
Yes.
get in touch with you for another episode. So we thank you very
No,
much.
definitely.
And bye for now from the Real Stuff Podcast. Thank you.
Yes, I.
You lead us to full. You belong far away away. Ajuguala lebo buseru. Lidamua leader sung pula. Leader mua, leader sung pula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know what set me if it go flee. Me I fi take away me say.